Hey guys, it's me, Amanda, with Once in a Wild. Sorry for starting late if you are watching on Facebook, but apparently the Facebook broadcast wasn't actually going live. So we were live on YouTube, but we weren't live on Facebook. So luckily I have family here at home with me. So they were able to tell me, Ricky was able to tell me that I wasn't actually live on Facebook. So I do apologize for being a little bit late. Let's go ahead and get started. You guys, we're starting over. For those of you on YouTube that were watching, sorry about that. You're just going to hear a little bit of this again. So let's start over. I don't know what happened, but sometimes life gets in the way of your plans, doesn't it? So hello once again. My name is Amanda with Once in a Wild. If you've never been here before, welcome to Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we broadcast a weekly live stream at 6:30 p.m. Central Time every single Wednesday on Facebook and on YouTube, usually, but I guess we were just on YouTube earlier. Sorry, Viviana, I know you were commenting and also watching, but I hated to just dip out on you, Viviana, but hopefully you're back and you're going to and watching again. So for those of you just joining us, I'm going to start over and repeat myself, but that's all right. Welcome to Once in a Wild Wednesday, where of course we do our live streams every week. And just to let you guys know, if you're not familiar with Once in a Wild, we are a mobile zoo right here in San Antonio, Texas, perfect for classroom presentations, for birthday parties, all kinds of events, as well as animal therapy. If you're interested in an in-person animal encounter here in the San Antonio, Texas area, please contact us via our number down below or onceinAwild.com. You can also find us all over social media, including Facebook and YouTube, right? I am on Facebook right now, right? I see somebody chiming in on Facebook, and you are welcome, Jason. Thank you for saying hello and making sure that everything is working. And it looks like we're on YouTube as well. So technical difficulty. Sometimes it just takes starting all over. Sometimes you got to restart and make sure everything's good, right? Let me know how everything looks and sounds and that everything's going okay. Again, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on TikTok, as well as Twitter and LinkedIn, as well as Instagram, of course. You can find all of our links except for, I believe, TikTok over at onceinawilds.com. And at TikTok, we're just at Once in a Wild Zoo. Pretty easy. So thank you guys for joining us. Today we have 4 animals to meet, and we'll talk about our Zoom room animal encounters at the end. So we can go ahead and get started with our animals. So that's what you're here for right now, right? So we'll talk about Zoom rooms at the end again. If I don't forget, I'll play you a little spiel and commercial about that. So this is Gremlin. He is one of our beautiful axolotls. He's actually a natural colored axolotl. This is exactly how they would look in the wild. They are from river systems in Mexico City. They're actually only from one specific area called Xochimilco in Mexico City. And they are very, very beautiful little salamanders. This is about as large as they get, although they can get a little bit larger than this, I have heard. But Gremlin here is pretty much an adult-sized axolotl. But what's really special about axolotls is they actually don't metamorphosize all the way to adulthood like other amphibians do. So amphibians are animals like toads and frogs, salamanders like axolotls, newts and things like that. Those are all amphibians. There's more as well. There's sirens and all kinds of cool things. But all amphibians start their life as an egg, which is laid by the mother and fertilized by the father. And if fertilization is successful, then they will actually hatch out as a little larva or a tadpole, right? You guys all probably know the frog's life cycle. So they start off as an egg, they hatch out as a tadpole or larva, that's a general term for the tadpole stage, and then they're going to slowly metamorphosize with growing legs, eventually losing their gills, and eventually frogs and toads will actually lose their tail as well. And when all of that is kind of completed, especially as a frog and a toad, they look totally different than they did as a larva. They will come up on dry land at least some of the time, and they can usually kind of go back and forth. Some toads actually usually never go back to the water. So things like desert toads and things like that, they might return to the water to lay eggs or have their little territories and things like that. And of course, to get a little bit wet, they do need to rely on some water, as all animals do. But some toads are a lot more dry weather than other species of frogs and things like that. But the axolotl is very, very different than even any of those guys. So put all those guys aside, and they're not the norm when it comes to being an amphibian. They do start their life as an egg like every other amphibian does under the water. And they never actually metamorphosize to an adult stage. They stay in a natonic stage or natonic life cycle. And that basically means they're just a big baby. You're a big baby. So what happens is they stay as this stage their whole entire life. So most amphibians will kind of look like this, at least in one part of their life cycle, but they'll be smaller and eventually they'll just kind of, they'll lose their gills, some of them will lose their tails, and they can go in and out of the water or on dry land most of the time. But the axolotl stays underwater its entire life. Now, a lot of people do ask me, can it ever metamorphosize? Does that ever happen with axolotl? It does, but it's very, very rare, and it only happens under extreme stress to where they would not survive otherwise. And unfortunately, for an axolotl's case, if they do metamorphosize into a full salamander on land, as you would normally think of a salamander, that actually means their life expectancy will drop quite a bit. They won't live much, much longer. It's really just a survival technique, which kind of shocks their system into metamorphosizing. So on a normal basis, or during normal axolotl life, they do not metamorphosize. They actually stay just like this and stay underwater their entire life. You might be wondering what these things are on the side of his face. Well, those are gills, and that actually is a feature of all, to my knowledge, all amphibians, as long as they, when they're under, how do I put this? They go through that phase in their life where they do need their gills. But most amphibians, like I said, those gills will gradually shrink and go away, and then they actually have lungs after that, and they can breathe with lungs. And a lot of amphibians as well, they actually breathe through their skin too. All amphibians are very slimy. That's a big difference between amphibians like the axolotl and, say, like a lizard or reptile. So all the reptiles out there, they don't have slime. Fish have slime. Some other animals have slime that are under the water, and the amphibians like the axolotl have underwater. Facebook is glitchy. Let us know if it's anybody else rather than Jason. I do apologize. I think Facebook is having issues today because it did not broadcast our live stream when I originally was on time at 6:30 p.m. It is now 6:50 already. Oh my goodness. Mom says her Facebook is good. That's my mom, Donna. Happy Once in a Wild Wednesday, Richard. Nice to see you. It looks like you have finally changed your profile picture. You look very, very, pretty much the same. You just don't have that fish in there, which I always made me laugh. Yes, you're welcome for starting over. Like I said, hello. Just keep me posted on how things are looking and sounding. So axolotls are wonderful animals. They're actually one of my favorite animals. They're very unique. They also have amazing abilities. So axolotls are studied very widely by scientists in labs because of their regeneration abilities. They can regenerate their body parts. So like most lizards they can actually regenerate their tail. A lot of lizards can do that, right? So if their tail were to be severed for any reason, maybe a predator grabs a hold of the tail, maybe they get it stuck under a log and it comes off. Oh my goodness. They can actually regenerate their tail, but they can also I'm having trouble talking today. They can regenerate almost anything on their body. In fact, as long as there's a portion left of that body part or a portion left of themselves, they can regenerate their body parts. So if an animal came and bit their leg off, they can regenerate the leg or arm. They could regenerate their gills, those things that are moving on the side of his head there. He's looking at me. I don't know if you can see him. Come over here, Gremlin. He can regenerate part of his body if he were to get a chunk out of him by a predator or something like that. That can all grow back. Isn't that amazing? He can even regenerate his brain as long as there's some brain remaining from that injury or whatever happened to him. So scientists, needless to say, are trying to figure out how they can apply that to maybe like humans or other, maybe veterinary medicine and things like that. That way they can save some of us that need organs or limbs or there's injuries, etc. Pretty awesome. So that would be pretty neat to be able to apply that to human medicine. Needless to say, right? Pretty awesome. So these guys are pretty much the most awesome of all the amphibians, in my opinion. They're also, unfortunately, a critically endangered species. Now, I do want to talk about that a little bit, but first we'll feed him. Let's have fun first. So axolotls are carnivores, and his favorite food is worms. Delicious worms. Can you guys see the worm? Ooh, for a minute it was in focus. Yum! Look at that mealworm. That's one of his favorite little treats. So on a normal basis, they actually get a pellet diet, which is a carnivore diet, which has like kind of everything for them. They eat that really, really well. It's really good for them. Helps them grow and be healthy and all the things. Where are you going? Come back. He doesn't know I have treats. And then they also get earthworms and night crawlers and other types of worms as a regular base diet that's really, really good for them. That is similar to what they would eat in the wild. They're going to eat all kinds of larvae. They're going to eat bugs that fall into the water's surface. They're going to eat bugs that are under the water and all kinds of little fishes and worms and slugs and all kinds of things that might end up in the water. And they might even eat each other too. They're definitely not loyal to one another. They are solitary animals in the wild, and they're not particularly good parents either. They kind of have their babies and then just leave, but that's usually how amphibians are. Not all amphibians are like that. There are exceptions, of course. There are some pretty cool frogs out there, etc., that are great parents. But these guys aren't. They will eat their children. Yep, they're cannibals. They will eat each other if they're small enough. So they're not picky. In fact, their scientific name is Ambystoma mexicanum, which means Mexican glutton, or one who eats all the things in Mexico. So let's go ahead and offer him a worm. These worms are treats. He doesn't get them every day. Oh, well, I seem to have spooked him with the worm. I don't know how. These axolotls are awesome, but not the brainiest ever. He'll turn around for the next one, I'm sure. I just want to make sure and give him the treat. That way he's not scared anymore. Something must have spooked him. Yes, so what happened was, Viviana, is it wasn't actually broadcasting or going live on Facebook, so we had to start all over. So I do apologize for doing that to you. That was actually probably me and not you. So mystery over. That is what happened. But sometimes I do the same thing as you just did. But these guys, unfortunately, are a critically endangered species. Axolotls are not doing well in the wild. Number one, they don't have a whole lot of space to live in the first place. They are from a teeny tiny little river canal system in Mexico City. That's all that they have to live in. They're kind of locked in that area in the wild. They don't have like access to a bunch of other areas to swim into or anything like that. And also they're right next to a city. So everything's kind of just like there, very, very segregated. And they're right next to Mexico City. And so for years and years and years, they were experiencing all kinds of issues in that river canal system where they naturally live. And number one is going to be pollution. Pollution meaning chemicals and all kinds of things in their waters. Also climate change is another huge one because their water gets warmer. These guys prefer very cold temperatures. They're in the care of humans. It's usually in the low 60s or so. And out there in the wild, it can be anywhere from the 50s to upper 60s, depending on the seasons and things like that. But it's super chilly water. They definitely don't like warm water like most other amphibians like, really, to be honest with you. And I say most, but, you know, not everybody. But you don't want to make everybody in the same clump of what they like. But anyway, you would think of amphibians and most reptiles as being kind of warm weather animals, but not necessarily. These guys are definitely a cold weather species, a cold temperature species. And because of climate change and other changes in our environment right now, their waters are getting warmer. So pollution, water temperature change. Another one is going to be trash. So that's another form of pollution as well. So things like plastic ending up in their waters. That's not good for anybody, right? And small plastic can be consumed by the animals that live in the water. So that makes them very sick and can even impact their system and they can pass away from that. Another issue with them is going to be invasive species. So invasive species means animals that were placed in the habitat that don't belong there, usually by humans or through human basically some kind of influence, maybe traveling through, just like rats and things like that have come over to the New World from the Old World. Usually they came over hitchhiking on boats and things like that. So either directly or indirectly influenced by humans, invasive species. So for them, invasive species include things like carp and tilapia, bigger fish like that, that were put into their water for the purpose of humans fishing. So that was the whole purpose of that. There was no other reason. It was just for our entertainment. And of course, that messed up a whole lot of things. So those carp and tilapia don't belong there. So not many animals eat them. And they eat everything. They're big fish. So they eat anything that goes into their mouth, kind of like the axolotl does. Including the axolotl, they will eat them, and they will also eat all the food that the axolotl relies on. So it's a big mess. And there's other factors as well, but those are the main ones. They used to also be hunted. It's now illegal, of course, to hunt the axolotl because they are critically endangered. Now, when I say critically endangered, that basically means the next step negatively down from that is going to be extinct. So there's a lot of levels of anywhere from least concern, which is animals are doing great in the wild, they're not endangered at all the way to extinct totally. So from critically endangered, you go to extinct in the wild, and then you go to extinct totally, which Fortunately, these guys are existing quite a bit in human care, so they're not really ever going to go extinct totally, as long as humans are still taking care of them and breeding them and having them in zoos and aquariums and responsible places like us, right? They're never going to totally go extinct, but they possibly will go extinct very, very soon in the wild, which is really sad. So that means, just to give you an illustration, they have gone in 20 years' time through studies by scientists and naturalists and people, conservationists and everybody studying them. Through a 20-year study, they went from 6,000 per square kilometer in their natural environment to about 35 or less per square kilometer in their natural environment. So from 6,000 to 35 in the span of 20 years. That's really, really bad and really rapid decline. So they need a lot of help. How can we help them? Well, one way is to support places that have them. So we're one of those places that has them. Give us support. I'm just kidding. I mean, yes, but we're not a breeding facility or anything like that, but we are raising awareness and conservation awareness about these guys, and we absolutely love them, and we love promoting axolotl as a species. They're very important and very, very in need of help. But one way that you can help them is by either visiting Mexico City and directly giving money to the conservation acts that are going on over there. For example, they are actually breeding them in a lab and a facility right near that area, and with the hopes of re-releasing them back into the environment once the environment is healthy enough again, and things like that. You can donate to that cause. You can also donate and visit zoos and aquariums that breed axolotls. A lot of them do. That's one really easy way you can help out. Another super easy way you can help out is by using less plastic. So that sounds like it doesn't really matter, but it really does matter. So that's one of my favorite ways to help out animals all over the planet. We can help out aquatic and terrestrial animals all over the planet by using less plastic and, of course, recycling whenever we can. But it's really more important to reduce your use of plastic than to just recycle all the time. Now, there's nothing wrong with using plastic sometimes. We all do. But it's really best if you can reuse items instead of throwing away plastic items or recycling them, and then just reducing your use of plastic. Because plastic ends up in a lot of waterways and land as well, affecting animals all over the planet. Another great way to help out amphibians in general, like frogs and salamanders and newts and toads that are in your own environment, maybe even in your own backyard. If you're in Mexico, these guys might be in your own backyard, which is pretty awesome. I'm very jealous. But you can actually be careful with chemicals. So if you're spraying your yard for bugs, that's not really good for any amphibians. That can, number one, poison their food, because a lot of them eat bugs for us. That's their main purpose. And in the basically the natural environment or the ecosystem is to actually eat a lot of insects. So insects have a place and purpose as well, of course, like any animal. Many insects can make everyone ill and sick, and parasites are never good either. So all those animals that eat them need to be protected and taken care of. So by poisoning their food, not really very good, is it? Now that sounds like, oh my gosh, duh. But all of us have used spray against bugs from one time or another. And we really should come up with other ways, or definitely safer ways, to get rid of bugs and insects and pests and things. So there's all kinds of other choices that you can make to help with that. Also, we want to never ever flush or rinse chemicals down the storm drain, and we want to dispose of those properly. And yeah, there's all kinds of different ways that you can help, and lots of research to be done on how we can all be greener in our habits, right? And that helps animals all over the planet, including axolotl. Would you like another treat? You guys? Just kidding. I'm talking to Gremlin, of course. You guys don't want any worms, right? Do you want a worm? Yum. Let's offer him another worm. Come here, bud. Let's see if he'll... Oh, yes. He didn't get spooked that time. So axolotls don't have the best vision. They can see, but what probably spooked him was maybe the movement of the feeding tongs, some reason. I mean, I feed him with these all the time. You shouldn't be scared of them, but it probably just surprised them. They have a really good sense of touch. In the water, they can feel the vibrations. They have a pretty good sense of smell. Like I said, not very good vision. Feeling vibrations, pretty good. Taste, I have no idea. I don't think they have a very good sense of taste. Maybe they do. Possibly. And they can hear as well. So there's all the senses. I believe I covered them. Let's see who's chiming in now. Ricardo says, I'm the one that eats everything in Mexico. Same. Mexican food is my favorite. Oh, yeah. But yeah, their scientific name is Ambystoma mexicanum, which means Mexican glutton or hungry Mexican. Something like that. Yeah, I'm, of course, loosely translating from their scientific name. Yes, it's very unfortunate. Axolotls are critically endangered, but there is hope. We can potentially clean up their environment and save their environment to be able to re-release these beautiful creatures back into the wild. And if that never happens, hopefully we can either release them into another environment, which they're actually considering doing. If the Xochimilco River Canal system never makes a comeback and is healthy again, then we're not going to put those axolotls there because that would be silly. But what they're doing instead, and they're considering doing, is releasing them into a very similar nearby area in order to keep some wild populations still going. But the good news is they do very, very well in the care of humans. As you can see, he's happy and healthy. And they do breed very well, and they have numerous babies. When they have them, they can have hundreds of babies each time they have eggs and everything. So their populations will hopefully always be okay in the care of humans. The challenge is having diverse genetics, because a lot of times when you have a lot of animals in the care of humans that are being bred in the care of humans, or captive bred, as we say, you want to, well, you have to deal with genetics and inbreeding and things like that. So we're doing our very, very best to make sure the genetics are a little bit diverse. And they definitely need diverse and healthy genetics to be able to go back into the wild. Of course, they can only be the wild type coloration as well. As you may know, axolotls and other animals bred in the care of humans, they can actually breed different colors into them and whatnot. So it can only be this wild type, is what we call them, wild coloration, which is beautifully camouflaged and perfectly adapted to the murky, muddy waters of the Xochimilco River system. And that is their natural color. Makes a lot of sense, right? If you live in a dark, kind of murky river system, you want to be dark and murky looking, right? If he were albino, which we have another famous axolotl that comes on our program sometime, her name is Ghost, and she is albino. She is super duper light colored. She would not make it in the wild, most likely, because they would be seen. That helps them to not be seen by natural predators. Now, not the carp and tilapia that I talked about before. Those are non-natural predators, but natural predators of them could be almost all kinds of animals out there in Mexico City, in the river. That could even be animals like birds and things like that that might eat animals coming down from the sky and eating them naturally, right? But it helps them to have a better chance of survival if they can hide better, right? Just like most animals in the wild have camouflage. Pretty cool. Who has questions about our axolotl? They are one of my favorite all-time animals, definitely my favorite amphibian. And I think Gremlin is just so handsome. We have 3 axolotls here at Once in a While. We have Ghost, Gremlin, and Goblin. Want another worm? Yum. You guys see him eating there? So I did try to move this tank as close as I could, you know, with it being in view and me being in view so you guys could see. And he's going to be out here the entire time. So please let me know if you have any questions of any kind about any of the animals that we see today, including Gremlin the axolotl, who's going to remain out here on this this table here with us the entire time, because why not? He's going to be a good boy sitting there the whole time. Maybe we'll give him some more treats as we go on. So for those of you just joining me, my name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we broadcast a live stream every single Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We got started a little bit late today because we had some technical difficulties getting broadcasted on Facebook for some reason. That just didn't happen. It was broadcasting on YouTube, but Facebook just did not let us on for some reason. Luckily, I was made aware of that, and now we are here, where we usually are, on Facebook and YouTube every single Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, let's meet our next animal. I did bring 4 animals today. I'm going to go through them pretty fast. And the reason that I brought 4 is because our next animal oftentimes doesn't really like all of these studio lights that you guys can't see behind the scenes, but trust me, they're there. That's the only reason that you can see everything over here. There's a lot of lights. And this particular animal is a nocturnal African species from Africa. And everybody loves her, but she doesn't necessarily have a lot of patience for being out here a whole lot. So I did bring extra animals because she might only be out here for a little bit. You can probably already hear her. That is the natural sound that they make. Let me get her situated. Everybody loves them. It is a hedgehog, right? So this is surely the African hedgehog. There are several species of hedgehog, and they all come from either Africa, Asia, or Europe. The European hedgehog is the largest by far because Europe gets very cold sometimes seasonally, right? So it makes sense for them to be about 4 times the size of this species of hedgehog, which is the African type. She's a little bit upset. Like I said, she doesn't really enjoy the lights because they are a nocturnal species and they are truly nocturnal, never ever coming out in the day. She does pretty well for classroom and other in-person encounters, but for the lights in the studio, they're just really bright. So we have to have patience with these beautiful hedgehogs to, understand that they just don't like lights. So they probably don't understand what's going on. So their instinct is to hide and roll up in a ball. That is also, of course, how they stay safe from their enemies. So hedgehogs are teeny tiny little mammals. Even the European hedgehogs are kind of a small mammal too. And they are not related to porcupines, by the way. A lot of people assume because they do have a similar adaptation for protection of a porcupine that they are related to porcupines, but they're just not. They're actually more closely related to shrews, but hedgehogs are kind of like their own thing. It's okay, cutie pie. If I talk quieter, maybe she will relax. Or maybe not. Hedgehogs are very nervous animals. A lot of people do desire a hedgehog for a pet. I don't recommend hedgehogs for pets. They're really not adapted to a home life. Now, there are exceptions to every single animal, but in general, hedgehogs are kind of nervous animals. You can teach them to be comfortable around humans, and to be very honest with you, Shirley is usually very, very comfortable with humans. She, again, just doesn't care for all these lights. So that's the best way that I can show her, just showing you how she is when she's naturally cranky. She's just not a morning person, and I can totally relate to that. It's not morning, but it looks like morning out here with the bright sun coming out like that. But that, of course, is going to be their adaptation for protection, similar to the porcupine, but porcupines are actually rodents. So porcupines are closely related to rats and mice and squirrels and guinea pigs, and all those guys are all rodents, right? Oh my goodness, it's gonna jump right out of my hand. But hedgehogs are in their own family, like I said, more closely related to shrews. Rodents have very specialized teeth that never stop growing, and they have to chew on stuff all the time. Hedgehogs don't have those kind of teeth. Their teeth look more like an opossum, or like just really, really sharp and spiky, kind of uniform, almost like a dolphin's teeth a little bit. That's what they remind me of, with longer fangs, kind of like an opossum. They have a lot of teeth in their mouth. And what they use their teeth for is for eating their favorite food, which happens to be insects. Anything from termites to scorpions. They can even eat, well, scorpions are insects, but they're arachnids, right? They're invertebrates. They can eat all kinds of invertebrates. So she's being really cute right now. See, everything's safe and sound. Everything's fine. They can eat worms, just like the axolotl. But they are very, very high protein animals. They eat a lot of bugs. Termites are probably going to be the #1 thing they eat in the wild. Look how cute. And so they're considered to be a predator of bugs. So this is a very, very capable African predator in their environment. They're one of the top predators in their little ecosystem that they live in. Usually hedgehogs will live underground, so they are terrestrial and subterrestrial. So they'll be running around on the ground at night, right? Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. I promise she's fine. I promise she's got a good life with us. I swear. She just doesn't like the lights. So they're going to sometimes dwell underground in a den that they've made. And sometimes they're going to dwell underground in a termite mound, kind of like in the tunnels beneath the termite mound or within it. And that helps them to, of course, have safety underground during the day when they're sleeping all day, but also that gives them all kinds of food sources, right? So the termites are going to be their main food because they're kind of surrounded by them in that termite mound. So they will eat them as they kind of run around looking for them, or as they come crawling by. Hedgehogs are actually very, very active animals at night. I do want to show you a really, really fun video really fast, because it's just too cute not to share. I'm going to share it with you. So hedgehogs, like I said, are nocturnal. They will sleep all day long. You will hardly ever see them during the day unless you, of course, pull them out to look at them or anything else, and they're probably going to be cranky about it, like you saw. But during the night, they're actually going to run anywhere from 2 to about 12 miles every single night in the wild. So this is actually Shirley, the same hedgehog that I was just holding, in her happy mode, which is running on her wheel. She loves to run on her wheel. It's one of her favorite things to do. And this was one moment when I actually caught her running on her wheel, which is rare because, again, it's at night. But I do want to show that to you really fast. Haha. She is so very cute. Look at her go. Look at those spindly little legs that they have. Those legs are very tiny, but it makes it very easy for them to kind of hide them in their ball of fury that they have. They have all those spines on their back, which are actually just hair. They're modified hairs, just like a porcupine's quills too, but they're very short and we call them spines instead of quills. They're modified hair. They cannot shoot their spines out of their body. That is a myth. We're going to watch it again just because. They only use them for defense on contact. So basically, they're going to have that very stretchy skin that comes all the way around their body. They can tuck their little legs in. They can tuck their little face in. Their skin is very stretchy, almost like when you have like a hooded sweatshirt and you just pull it over your face and draw the drawstring. They can draw that skin all the way across their body and over their body and just kind of roll into a ball and flex all their spines in different directions like you saw when she was hanging out in my hands a second ago. Very cute, huh? Super cute. And that protects them really, really well. In fact, almost no animals can hunt and eat a healthy hedgehog until they're very elderly or unless they're very, very young as a hedgehog. There is only one type of animal in nature that actually eats hedgehogs on like a regular basis, where it's like a regular diet item, and that is another nocturnal species of predator, a very famous one, and I bet you guys can actually guess. If you haven't, you may have seen one of our shows before, and you've actually just been listening really well. Either way, I'll be very impressed if you can tell me which predator it is. It's another nocturnal species that can actually eat a hedgehog quite easily. She's running around over here, but as soon as I pull her over here, I bet she's gonna roll up into a ball again. They're super cute. Look at her cute little paws. Their legs are very tiny. Makes it very easy not just to run around, but also to kind of hold them inside of that skin. And the little kind of like jumping motion is something they do when they feel a little nervous, and they're kind of just making sure that nobody's going to eat them, because they can kind of jump and put those spines into a predator's face. I'm not going to do it, or mouth. And most animals with very soft mouths, they just can't eat these guys because it's near impossible. As you might imagine, this is almost impossible to take a bite out of and get anything good out of it. Plus, they're very, very tiny. It's not really worth it for like a lion to eat this because they're just like super tiny. So there's only one type of predator that eats these guys on a regular basis. I'm just going to let her rest. I think she's had enough already. That's why I brought extra animals today, you guys. Usually I bring only 3 animals, but I brought 4, and Shirley was one of them. Yes, their legs are so very cute. And let's see. Hedgehog, yes. Too cute. Love the hissing sound because it makes them seem like they're sneezing. Yeah, it does kind of sound like a sneeze, doesn't it? It's kind of like a hiss. That's about as loud as a hedgehog gets. They are very quiet in that way. They do make other small noises. I've never heard them make any other noises, maybe little grunts and things. It's really not, they're not a super noisy animal. They're also not a social animal, just like the axolotl. They live alone in solitude. That's how they prefer it. You should not ever keep hedgehogs together. If you ever have a pet hedgehog or you know somebody with a pet hedgehog, they should not be together. They don't like each other, unless of course it's mother raising her babies and the babies just go on their own. And of course they come together for breeding. And other than that, they're going to live in solitude. That's how they prefer it. In fact, they don't even like us half the time. It's, again, not the most ideal pet. It's a solitary animal, not a social animal, nocturnal strictly. You're going to hear them running around all night long. So you really don't want to keep them in like a bedroom situation unless you're, you just don't care about all the noise, I guess. And they're not super cuddly. Even super nice and tame hedgehogs, which honestly, she normally is a super tame hedgehog. She just doesn't care for all these lights in the studio. However, I think maybe the camera is scary. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. We're trying our best. But I was going to say, even like a super tame hedgehog, they're really not a cuddly animal. They kind of rather just like run around and explore. They don't really like to be pet and touched. So not an ideal pet. I recommend maybe like a guinea pig instead. If you like a cuddly type animal, hedgehogs are pretty easy to care for. You just have to do a lot of research and make sure you're doing the right thing for these wild type animals. They're really not a domesticated species, are they? They have a lot of special needs and definitely a difficult personality to become kind of tame and snuggly. They're not snuggly ever. They're going to be sharp. They're going to probably, at least ball up sometimes. So, use your discretion, but I don't recommend them as pets. Those legs, I know they're those like teeny tiny little legs. They're so silly. Yes. So are your hedgehogs named Laverne and Shirley? Yes, they are. So we do have 2 sibling hedgehogs, which are 2 sisters. They don't live together. Like I said, they're solitary, but they are sisters and they're in the same room together, but in different enclosures. One is Shirley and one is Laverne. So this was Shirley that I had on the show today. And Laverne is her sister, yes. Yes, is the owl their predator? Very, very good, Viviana. So another nocturnal species, right? An owl. Owls are good predators for a lot of animals, actually, but owls in Africa specifically, I know there's a specific type of owl called a milky eagle owl, also known as a Varro's eagle owl. It's the same species, just two different names. They have extremely long talons or toenails that they can pick up the hedgehog, take it away, and they also have a very long bill as well. And all birds, of course, have a beak instead of a soft mouth, so they can more easily get to that hedgehog and where all the food is on the hedgehog, right, for a predator. And they can kind of get through the spines and everything and get to where the meat is. That is how the owl is able to get around that, and they are very, very specialized to do so. I believe owls all over the world that, well, I say all over the world, but in Europe, in Asia, and in Africa, where hedgehogs live, I believe the owl is the main predator for all of those different types of hedgehogs. So pretty interesting, right? And also, just by default, hedgehogs are nocturnal. Owls are nocturnal as well. I imagine if hedgehogs were diurnal, being out during the day, that there would be other birds of prey like hawks and eagles that could eat them as well. And that might also happen on occasion too. So birds of prey is a great general answer for that. But owls specifically, very, very good. I'm going to let, I almost said Laverne. I'm going to let Shirley hang out down below and just be by herself, which is where she wants to be. And I appreciate you guys being patient with our hedgehog. They're just not a big fan of being out under the bright light. So I think that's what it is, which is partially also why I bring a video to show you how cute they are running, because I can't let her just run around like crazy out here. Now, when I have in-person encounters, I bring the hedgehogs quite often, and they do just fine in in-person encounters. They do really well being kind of just being held like that. They kind of relax a little. And I can even put them on the ground and you can see them walk around. That's really, really fun. But it's a challenge with all the studio lights and being under a camera as well. So I hope you understand, but I do my very best. And if you guys are dead set on a Zoom encounter with a hedgehog, I can certainly add the hedgehog to the virtual encounters as well. We just do our very best, don't we? Now, one more thing about the axolotl. I did want to show you a video of one of our axolotls actually eating a worm, which is part of their normal diet as well. Not just the mealworms, but earthworms too. So this is Ghost, one of our other axolotls. She's about to eat a big old earthworm in slow motion. I figure you guys might want to see that too. Pretty cool. So here she comes. She's getting ready to eat that earthworm. You can see her coloration is very, very different than Gremlin's coloration right here. So she's an albino. She's what we call a golden albino. She has golden eyes and kind of a golden color. There are just regular albinos as well with red eyes. And there are what we call leucistics, which are probably the most famous non-natural colored axolotl, which are white with black eyes and red gills. Isn't she just beautiful? Ghost is absolutely gorgeous. She is quite a good eater, let me tell you what. But what a good video to show of her eating in slow-mo. I love this video. So much fun. Oh my gosh, they are so cute. They are so, so very cool. A lot of people know what an axolotl is nowadays because of all kinds of social media and art and all kinds of things featuring the axolotl, which is pretty neat. A lot of people didn't used to know what they were. They're like, Axo what? You go axolotl nowadays, most people do know what they are, which is pretty awesome because they do need a lot of help. Like I said before, we need to bring awareness about some of these animals that are lesser known. And that is one really awesome thing about not just animal encounters, but zoos and aquariums and all kinds of ways to make people aware about endangered species and otherwise. Let's go ahead and meet another animal. So we just met the predator to this animal, actually, a potential predator. This animal does have a lot of potential predators that could go after them in the natural environment. But this is also another predator. In fact, I just realized I brought 1, 2, 3, 4 predators to meet you guys today. I didn't even do that on purpose. I brought the axolotl, the African hedgehog, which is also an African predator too. This is a Mexican predator, Central American predator. Actually, technically that's North America, isn't it? Mexico's North America too, you guys. But we tend to call it Central America sometimes, don't we? But New World, New World. So this is another old world. In fact, another African type predator. African species too. one of my favorite arthropods that we have. Now, when I say arthropods, that means arachnids, insects, centipedes, millipedes, all those guys are arthropods. So there's all different kinds of those guys, right? I believe crabs and lobsters are also arthropods as well. They're just aquatic. This is one, and it's an arachnid, and you guys know and love her. It's Xena the scorpion. She's an African flat rock scorpion. Yes, very good. How did you know, Viviana? You're reading my mind constantly out here, or you've just seen every last program that we do, which is very much appreciated. I'm going to get her settled on my hand a little bit better so you guys can see. This is Xena, the African flat rock scorpion. She has really good little gripping legs, which is how she's able to kind of grip onto my hand comfortably like this. I'm just going to hold her just like this so you guys can see. Isn't she gorgeous? So she is one of the largest species of scorpion in the entire world. It's the African flat rock scorpion. They call them the African scorpion because they're from Africa. In fact, these guys are from South Africa. Their primary predator, well, they have all kinds of predators, as you might imagine. In Africa, there's tons of predators, including birds, mammals, other arachnids, all kinds of things can eat them. Hedgehogs can eat them, believe it or not. This is kind of a big meal for a hedgehog. But these scorpions, of course, like all scorpions, start off very small. So a scorpion growing up would definitely be a prey item for an animal like a hedgehog. But their main primary predator is going to be meerkats. Meerkats are actually immune to most venom on a scorpion and other arthropods like that. They can easily eat them, no problem. It's one of the main things on the menu. Now, we talked about a critically endangered species with the axolotl, right? This one right here, I'm pointing over here. This is actually not an endangered species, and neither is the African hedgehog. This species, the African flat rock scorpion, is one of the most common types of scorpion to find in their region of South Africa and surrounding countries. Pretty awesome. They're very common. They're doing really, really well. They are a very long-lived scorpion. They can actually live into their 30s in the care of humans. Out there in the wild, they typically live into their teens or so. But in the care of humans, where they don't have to worry about any of those meerkats and other predators, they can live into their 30s, which is pretty amazing. We don't know Xena's age because she came to us as an adult, and these guys are very slow-growing animals. So it takes them years and years, almost 10 or so years to reach this size. So we think she's at least 10, but she could be a little bit younger or a little bit older than that. Hopefully not too much older than that, because she's my absolute favorite invertebrate that we have. She is so impressive and big. She usually sits very, very still. She has her moments when she gets cranky. You might see that a little bit here today. She's not having a great day, to be honest with you. She's a little bit cranky pants, but that does happen, and all animals have their own personalities, and there are good days and bad days, just like you saw with the hedgehog. And trust me, she has her good days too, which is now, these guys are amazing animals. I think that scorpions and spiders are some of my favorites, and they get a really bad reputation, don't they? A lot of people are terrified of scorpions and spiders, and I understand, because there are some out there that can harm a human and can even be kind of dangerous. But out of the 1,500 species of scorpion throughout the entire planet, which, by the way, they're on every continent except for one, which of course is Antarctica, the coldest and most south region of the world, and it's very arid as well. There's not a whole lot of like tree cover or trees in general or any kind of plants in Antarctica. There's very few animals that actually can adapt to living there or have adapted to living there. So scorpions, not so much, not scorpions in Antarctica, but they are all over the world, and there are over 1,500 known species of scorpion, and we're always discovering all kinds of animals all the time, so who knows, there might even be more than that. But out of the 1,500 known scorpion species in the planet, only about 25 are significantly dangerous to humans. That's not very many. That's a very small percentage, so there's not really much to worry about. Now, that being said, I don't recommend picking up any scorpions that you see. I recommend leaving them alone if you can, or brushing them out the door with a broom. Or etc. You definitely don't want to be picking them up like you're seeing me do with Xena. But if you were in Africa, and you might be in Africa watching right now, we reach people all over the world, so who knows? You may see this species, and they're actually pretty docile and easy to handle, and definitely not dangerous. Now, even if they aren't docile and there just happen to be an individual that's afraid and wanting to sting, they can sting. They do have a beautiful tail, which is known as the metasoma. That is their final body part in the rear there, of course. Metasoma just means at the rear end, essentially. So they do have a cephalothorax, which is their head and midsection combined, just like spiders have. And then they have an abdomen, which is kind of her main section, long section of her body there. And then the metasoma, which is her tail, which is we know as the tail. And she also has a stinger, of course, and venom in her stinger. Now, she is venomous, but not significantly harmful to humans at all. In fact, their venom is very mild. I have been stung by this species before, It doesn't feel like much of anything, to be honest with you. I might just be very tough. Who knows? It feels much less than an ant bite. And I'm not talking about a fire ant. I'm talking about just a regular ant. They don't really hurt that much. It itches a little bit afterwards, and then it goes away very, very soon. So they're very, very mild venom on them. And how you can tell that she's not very venomous is just by looking at her. If they have big claws like she has, and a skinny, tiny tail like she has, you'll know that they don't have very much venom. So that's going to tell you that they actually use their claws for a little bit of defense. A little bit. They can pinch a little bit. They're not very, very strong. Definitely not as strong as a crab or a lobster, that's for sure. But they can kind of pinch and maybe deter their enemies that way. And they don't really sting their enemies that much because it's not worth much. And but they also use their claws for holding their food. So their food might be things like insects, roaches, other arachnids like another scorpion or a spider, all kinds of things that they can eat. They can even eat small lizards and small mammals and small amphibians they can get a hold of. They're not too super picky about what they eat as long as it's small enough for them to eat it. So how they're going to hunt is by use of their sense of touch. So they are covered in little tiny hairs. I don't know if you can see those hairs at all. It's a little bit hard to see them. They're very, very light colored. They're kind of all over her, especially on her claws and her tail and kind of like all over the place, on her legs too. And those hairs make their sense of touch very, very sensitive. In fact, they're so sensitive that they can even feel a moth flying overhead, and they can grab a moth in midair and grab them and start just eating that. And how they're going to start eating them with this species, not every species does this, and I'll explain in a minute. But this species doesn't have much venom, like I said, but they've evolved very, very large claws, which we call the pedipalps. That's the proper term for her claws. Pedipalps also exist on spiders too. They're just little arm-like appendages in the front near their mouth. Some actually say that they are actually mouth parts as well. They're kind of like just an extension of their mouth. So fair enough, we can call them mouth parts or arm-like appendages, what I like to call them. They are claws, of course, and they can use their claws to grab onto that, say it's a moth, out of midair. Pretty amazing. And then they're going to draw them towards their mouth. And then they're going to start eating them. And what happens is they will crush with the claws in this species. And then they have little mouth parts, which are called chelicerae, I believe, just like a spider. But they have almost like little claws for a mouth. And I'm actually going to show you a really neat video of Xena here eating a dubia roach. And you can see some of those mouth parts in action. But what they do is they have two little kind of claw-like mouth parts called chelicerae. And they will kind of like munch on that food item, like a roach, for example, or a moth, and then they will start salivating all over that food item. So they just drool all over the place, and they kind of crunch them up with little tiny claws, and that helps them to digest their food and then just slurp it up like a little drink, and that's how they eat it. Similar to how a spider eats, except for a spider will use their venom to inject into the food item, and then it will wait for that animal to kind of turn into a liquefied animal on the inside. Whereas these guys just kind of start munching them up and drooling on them, and then they kind of just slurp them up. Isn't that interesting? So cool. Now, these guys, I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's just how they eat. Now, I did mention that some scorpions do use their venom to hunt and also defend themselves. If she were a species with very, very slender, tiny claws and a big, fat, robust tail, that would tell you that that species actually has quite a bit of venom. And some species are actually pretty toxic to humans as well, and you would have to go to the hospital in that case. Normally, you're not going to like pass away from that venom. You could if you just let it go, and it happens to be one of those deadly scorpions, 25 out of 100, 25 out of 1,500 species, and if you're allergic as well. So it's important if you, first of all, you don't know what you got stung by, to go ahead and go to the doctor and make sure that you're okay. But if you see a scorpion that has a big fat tail and slender claws and you get stung by that scorpion, you should definitely seek medical help because it could be a severe venom. But in those cases where the scorpion has a severe or at least somewhat potent venom, they're actually going to use that venom to subdue their prey as well, and usually paralyze their prey. So they'll grab on with slender claws and then come around with their metastoma tail, sting with their stinger, right? Make sure the venom has penetrated or gone into that animal. The stinger has penetrated the animal and the venom has gone into the animal. That will subdue the animal or paralyze it. And then they can go about eating just like I described before, with their little chelicerae mouth and salivating all over the place and breaking down that animal for eating. Isn't nature amazing? Now, Xena here is named after the famous xenomorph from Alien, and that is partially because she does look like a little face hugger, and I love it because I'm a huge Alien fan, but also because they mostly come out at night. Mostly, if you know anything about aliens, so they are a nocturnal animal, as most scorpions are. One really cool way to find scorpions, if you're studying them, I don't know if you want to find them at all, or maybe if you think you have a scorpion in your home and you want to locate that scorpion and make sure where it's at, you can actually use a black light to shine over where you think the scorpion is. You can find them in the wild or just shine it on your floor if you have a scorpion on the floor. It's pretty neat. They will actually glow under a black light, and that is all scorpion species. They have special properties in their bodies that will glow under a black light. And someday I'm actually going to show that on the show. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll do a video. I don't have a black light, so I keep meaning to get one. There's no reason to really have one except for to show you how cool it is, but it is pretty neat. Now, scientists don't really know why that happens or what the purpose of that is. There's a lot of theories, but we don't really know why, but we do know that it's pretty neat. She says, hi, Xena. Yes, absolutely, a scorpion. Can they control their venom output? That is a great question. Yes, they can. So I just actually found this out not too long ago, that scorpions do have control of how much venom they can actually put out into their either victim or their enemies. So they can release a dry sting. It can just be the stinger, like, hey, get away from me. And that's a very nice scorpion doing that to you. Or maybe they just don't want to waste their venom on you. Their venom is precious and it's not unlimited. So using their venom against an enemy is not really ideal. They want to save that for potentially either the next enemy, I guess, or if it's a scorpion that does use their venom to subdue prey, they need to make sure that that's plentiful for them to use, right? Hello, Nick. It's so nice to see you. So pretty. Me or Xena? Me or Xena? Maybe both. Thank you so very much, and hello. Yes, Xena is one of my favorite arthropods that we have, and she's an invertebrate as well as an arachnid. She's all kinds of things. And of course, she's a scorpion, an African flat rock scorpion. We have two, well, I take it back. We have 3 scorpions here at Once in a Wild. I always forget. And how could I forget? We do have one of Xena's babies here at Once in a Wild. So Xena is a mother of 39 babies. That's one reason we know she's a female. But this species is actually quite dimorphic, which means that males and females look different from one another. So it's easy to tell by just looking at them if they're a boy or a girl. Their tails are different. The male's tail will actually be almost twice the length of Xena's tail here, and just as slender, but very long, so it looks more slender. And then they also have little body parts underneath their bodies, which don't think I'm trying to be dirty here. It's actually part of the body of the scorpion, which does function for breeding and things like that. It's not what you think. It's something very specific to scorpions. They're little feathery-like items, and I forget what they're called, so please forgive me. This is live, so I can't remember what the technical word is for it. But males have different-looking feathery body parts than the females do. So it's actually pretty easy to tell the gender once you have a mature scorpion. You guys can make fun of me all you want. But we do know that she's 100% female because she had a whole bunch of babies. So she came to us already gravid or pregnant. Gravid is the proper term, but you can say pregnant. So she was pregnant with 39 babies, little knowns to us. She was a big girl when we got her, so we should have known. But she did have all those babies, and scorpions are actually one of my favorite mothers in all of the animal kingdom because they're actually excellent mothers. We talked about the axolotl being a terrible parent. Hedgehogs are pretty good parents as well. As a mammal, they do have to nurse their young for a short period of time, and then those babies will leave. Baby hedgehogs are really cute, and they're called hoglets, by the way. Super cute name. I don't remember what baby axolotls are called. I mean, they're just eggs, then a larva, then everything else. But anyway, so, but a baby scorpion is called a scorpling, which is super cute as well. So mother scorpions will have their young. In fact, this species of scorpion, I believe their gestation is up to 18 months or something like that. It's super long gestation period. They grow slowly. They have their babies slowly. They do everything slowly except for run around, I guess, when they want to. But they do have their young live born. They are not egg layers. They have their babies live. Their babies come out white colored, and numerous amounts of them. As I said, she had 39 of them. I wish it wasn't even 40. That would make me feel less OCD about it, but it is what it is. But it was 39. And what happens is after they are born, those babies then crawl on mom's back, and they stay on mom's back, kind of like an opossum baby. I know, he's super adorable. And they will stay on mom's back until their first molt, which is typically in a couple of weeks. So they will stay with mom for a couple of weeks. They will molt their first exoskeleton off, and they will become the same color as mom after they come out white, and then they molt their exoskeleton. They become brown, and then they become a little bit more tough. They have a nice exoskeleton to protect them. They're super tiny versions of the mother, though, and then they leave and they start having their own place to live. They'll find their own burrow underground. This is also a terrestrial and subterrestrial type animal. It's called an African flat rock scorpion because a lot of times you'll see them on rocky outposts in how you say that? Rocky areas in Africa. And they'll be hiding under flat rocks and things, and they can make their bodies very flat to go underneath the flat rocks. That's where they get their name, the African flat rock scorpion. But again, they're great moms. They will actually protect, hold, feed, water, all the things that you would think a mother would do to their babies until they're ready to go. And again, that long gestation period or pregnancy, it's a lot to consider. You know what I mean? It's an amazing mom. And these animals are so unchanged over millions of years. They're very, very ancient animals. They were around when dinosaurs were around. The first scorpions, well, that we know of, the original scorpions were actually about 3 to 4 foot long, and most of them were more aquatic. So kind of like a great big lobster, if you think about it. That's their ancient relative. It's pretty amazing. Can you imagine a 4-foot scorpion just like Xena? That would be a little bit extreme. I don't know if I would be able to hold a 4-foot scorpion, but I would try. I mean, knowing me, I really love scorpions. So when they lose their tail, is it true their lifespan is cut short? Yes. So unfortunately, their tail is not just a tail. It's not like a dog's or a cat's tail where it's just a tail, part of their, kind of extension of their spine. A dog or a cat or an axolotl or all kinds of animals can lose their tail potentially if it was done and, if it was, not too severe. An axolotl will be just fine. It would grow right back. But other animals can potentially live without their tail. That's what I'm trying to get to. But a scorpion, that is not just their tail. That's why we call it a metasoma. A metasoma is actually part of their hind end. It's where they use the restroom and everything else. So they could not use the restroom after that. So they couldn't digest fully and function in that way. So if they lose their tail, they would lose their part of their digestion. So not good. They could probably survive for a while, but they wouldn't be able to properly digest and use the restroom after that. So that is almost always a death sentence. I have heard that some arthropods and scorpions can regenerate, but I don't think they can regenerate their metasoma. Now, I could be wrong. Please, all you entomologists out there, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always learning all the time, and I would love to look that up for you and see if I'm wrong. In fact, I will after this. But I know they can usually regenerate like a limb when they molt. Again, these guys do molt. They don't molt as often as spiders do. When they're young, they're going to molt more often, but they only molt a few times in their entire life. So these guys grow very slow. They molt less often. So regenerating like a leg would be possible, I think, but they would have to wait for their next molt, which might be years from now if she were to lose a leg right now. But they are extremely tough animals. They have a hard exoskeleton, which is armor for their body, and they don't have bones, right? So that is technically their skeleton. Let me see. No way. I'd be running away if I saw a 4-foot scorpion creature. That'd be pretty amazing, right? But that's similar to a lot of prehistoric animals like giant sloths and dinosaurs and things like that. Most of those animals are pretty terrifying if you think about it. But who knows? Maybe humans, if we had been around back then, maybe we would be giants back then. Who knows? It's kind of interesting that way. But we weren't there, so we don't know. I'd love to show you a video really fast of Xena eating, like I said I was going to show. Let me go ahead and get that ready for you while I hold her. You can see those mouth parts in action, which is pretty awesome. Here we go. Let's watch this. She's got a roach in her claws there, which of course we call pedipalps. That's the proper term. She already has the roach in her mouth there. You can get a really good view of her eyes, which are her dorsal eyes on top of her cephalothorax there. She does have 3 sets of eyes. Oh, there we go. That's a good kind of view of her mouth parts there. You can see they're working independently of one another. There are 2 mouth kind of claws. They look like claws to me, little pinchers. And they crunch up food. Those are called chelicerae, I believe. And they crunch up food like this, like pinch, pinch, pinch. And then she is simultaneously salivating on that roach and kind of breaking it down. Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's cool to see that so up close. Let's watch it again really fast. I think that's it. it ended already. Now, of course, it's not going to have a ton going on in this video. I was trying to get a good shot of this. But you can see her little eyes there on top of her head. She also has 2 more sets of eyes on either side of what I like to call their cheeks, kind of in the front there. So they have 3 sets of 2 eyes. So 2, 4, 6 eyes. Some other scorpions have more eyes than that. Most scorpions, though, have multiple sets of eyes. So cool. Look at her go. She's kind of like daintily holding it with her claws. Isn't that amazing? I love them. Xena has been such an amazing animal to get to know. Not only does she have all those babies, and that was super neat to see, but like, it's just funny what animals you get attached to, isn't it? And arthropods like scorpions, spiders, all those guys, insects, they all get a really bad reputation. But every animal in the animal kingdom has their own place in nature that is very positive. Even the animals that we kind of consider like gross or maybe like negative in some kind of way, they still have a purpose. Even roaches, which are my least favorite animal on the planet, are mosquitoes and flies, etc. All those animals feed other animals like the scorpion. And if we don't have scorpions to eat those animals, then they take over and we get sick and we get all kinds of issues, right? So it's really important to let scorpions live. I know a lot of you are afraid of scorpions, and that is okay to be afraid of them. You just have to learn how to live with them or go away from them. Now, if you have a scorpion in your home, I would suggest brushing it out the door with a broom or collecting it in some way. If you're absolutely terrified, maybe you can have the assistance of a friend or an expert to help you, but that is what I suggest, okay? Same thing goes with spiders. Spiders are extremely important to the natural environment, and they help us to bring down diseases that we so desperately need right now. We don't need to be sick in any other way, shape, and form right now in society and all the time. So I do suggest leaving them alone to live as well. They definitely don't mean us any harm. And like I said, out of the 1,500 scorpions on the planet, only about 25 are significantly venomous to humans. Now, again, you want to protect yourself, so please don't handle them if you don't know what you're doing. If you accidentally get stung and you think it is a severe scorpion, make sure and go to the hospital or something like that. There are anti-venoms there for you to be treated with, and you should be just fine. Very few people actually pass away from scorpions, especially nowadays, so everything should be fine. Wowzers, indeed. Were you talking about the video or just seeing her right here? Pretty cool. And a lot of kiddos ask me, oh my gosh, is it even real? She's not even moving. She's just really, really calm most of the time. She's very good for holding like this. They're very comfortable just kind of sitting on like my hand. That is sad because the scorpion I saw here where I live, it was missing the tail. Oh yes, it can happen. It usually happens from predators, but that's just the way of nature, isn't it? The wild isn't always easy. So these animals are definitely predators, like I said, but they're also prey. They're prey to other animals, and they probably will get eaten by something. At that point, birds eat them. So it's just the circle of life, right? So they are kind of right there in the middle of the food chain. They're definitely predators in their own ecosystem, in that tiny little ecosystem that they live in naturally, all over the world, right? Except for Antarctica, but they also are prey to other animals too. So hopefully that scorpion that you saw will be eaten by something else and have kind of have a purpose. It also might be an aged scorpion, an older scorpion that maybe just, got injured by something, and now it's just kind of, it's old anyway. So who knows? It's the way it is. There's always the wild is not a Disney movie, is it? Like we're talking about with the axolotl. It's very hard for the axolotl to be in the wild right now. These guys are doing just fine overall. They are doing really well in Africa, thank goodness, but a lot of animals aren't. And the hedgehog too. Hedgehogs are doing just fine as well. Let's let Xena rest. She did a fantabulous job out here. She is just fantastic. We love her so very much. She's a wonderful animal ambassador. As you can see, she's just a pro, and we love talking about her, and we love having people meet her. So I thought I would bring her today. So it's been a minute since she's been out here on the live stream. So we're going to let her rest down below. She's done a fantastic job, like I said, and we'll see her next time, right? Okay, Xena, you did great. It always takes me a minute to set her down because I have kind of like sticky legs. So she wants to stick to my hand sometimes and not go back into her travel enclosure. There we go. And I will look up some of those facts that I either slipped my mind right now or I just didn't know. So it'd be interesting for me to learn as well. I always kind of go back and watch these live streams again to make sure I answered all your questions. Please let me know if you have any questions about any of the animals that we met today, or otherwise some of your favorite animals. You can ask me questions about them as well. I do want to bring up that we are going to be having a special extra live stream this Friday, which is the 2nd of October. We're going to be having a collaboration with Doodlebugs Animal Adventures, featuring the owner and she's kind of like just like me, the owner and kind of front person of that company. company called Doodlebugs Animal Adventures. She's all the way in California, so we're going to be doing a virtual encounter together this Friday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. I believe that is 4:30 California time, and she's amazing. Her name is Rachel, and she's going to be joining me on the show. We're just doing an extra program for you guys, and she's going to be bringing animals on the program as well. So I do recommend tuning in for that this Friday, and tell all your friends and family. We'll make sure and put some posts and announcements about that so you guys don't forget. Okay, so I'm going to check my camera really fast, as you guys know that watch the show. On my camera that resets itself every 30 minutes, and I have to manually reset it, but it actually stops every 30 minutes. We have one more animal. How did you know? How did you know it was a snake? Are you just like in the room with me and you're like spying on me? Oh my goodness. Or you just know that I love snakes so much? Yes, bye Zena. Thank you guys for watching today. Okay, we are going to meet one more animal, and it is a snake. How the heck did you know which snake it was? Did I say that already? Did I slip and say that it was a snake? All right. Well, we are going to meet a snake because I always like to bring a snake on the show when I can help it. Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. It would be really cool to see some of our regulars on here as well as new people. So invite all your family and friends to watch. We're going to be seeing some of her animals as well. So some new animals that we've never seen on the show before. So that should be pretty cool. Okay. Well, I did bring a snake, and she is one of my most beautiful snakes, in my opinion. It's Harley Quinn, the corn snake. Harley Quinn is a beautiful red rat snake, aka the corn snake. They are called a corn snake because of their beautiful belly that looks just like a corn pattern, right? Amazing. This is one of my very, very, very favorite snakes. Yes, how did you know? You are a psychic. This is one of my favorite snakes as a species and as an individual. She is just wonderful. Corn snakes are one of the sweetest snakes on the planet. And they're also quite important, like all snakes are, right? And they're just naturally gorgeous snakes. They're so soft. They have a beautiful natural pattern. This is exactly how they look in the wild. This is what we call an Okatee corn snake, and they live in the eastern United States, places like Florida, kind of the southeast Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, places like that. That's where they're naturally found. There are many, many rat snakes all over the United States as well that are closely related to this type of rat snake. This is a rat snake. It's just called a red rat snake, but the most common name is the corn snake. Pretty amazing. These guys are fantastic animals. They are very important and very misunderstood, as all snakes are, right? So a lot of people are afraid of snakes, just like they're afraid of scorpions. Where am I going here? They're afraid of scorpions because maybe they don't know much about them. They think they're venomous and dangerous, which some of them are dangerous. All scorpions are venomous, but not all snakes are venomous. In fact, most snakes are not venomous. There are different kinds of snakes out there, right? So this is a colubrid, or rat snake. Colubrids are kind of like a category of snakes, which include rat snakes, milk snakes, king snakes, bull snakes, indigos, all those guys. Hognose snakes, those are all colubrids. They're kind of like an extra category of snakes, if you will. They're wonderful animals. Snakes are very important because they also are predators in the natural environment. As I mentioned before, all of the animals out here are predators today that we've met today and are meeting right now. And this type of predator does us a really, really good service by eating all kinds of rodents in the natural environment. That's why they're called the rat snake, because they famously eat rodents. Now, in my opinion, they should be called the rodent snake because not all rat snakes are big enough to eat rats. In fact, most of them, when they're tiny like this, or on the small side, they definitely can't eat a rat unless it's a baby rat. But they're rodent eaters for the most part. But corn snakes can also eat things like eggs. They can eat lizards sometimes. They can eat birds, all kinds of things. So they're not the pickiest of eaters. In fact, most rat snakes are like that. So rat snakes are very, very common throughout the U.S. and all over the world too, now that I think about it. And in the U.S., especially if you have a snake that is climbing a tree, or maybe you're wondering how the heck it got where it got. I rescued a rat snake once that was in a cable box one time in our apartment complex. That the cable guy was definitely not happy about that, and probably was going to kill the snake, to be honest with you. And so I rescued that rat snake out of that situation. It was a great big giant Texas rat snake, totally harmless to humans, but he didn't know the difference because most people don't educate themselves, right? Most people think that the snakes that they see in the natural environment are out to get them and they are dangerous, which it's really not true. Even your venomous snakes definitely aren't out to get you and should be left alone. That is what we recommend with all wildlife. and even your venomous snakes. We'd recommend that you leave them alone. Please do not kill them or harm them. They are very important to the natural environment. How big can corn snakes grow? They can get a length of about 5 or 6 foot. That would be an extremely large corn snake. Their average is usually 4 to 5 foot, but they're not a very thick-bodied snake at all. Yeah, for real. You're like on a roll tonight. Maybe you should go win the lottery. Yeah, for sure. No, you don't. You've just been like on a roll tonight. That's so funny. That's so funny. Yes. So these guys are fantastic. Like I said, they don't get too super large. It takes them a while to grow up that big. 4 to 5 foot is their average. I've seen a 6 foot corn snake before though. It really just depends. They never stop growing their whole life. So as long as she's healthy and living and eating and all the things, she will grow. But typically their life expectancy is no longer than in the 30s, like the early 30s. Typically like 20s is going to be their life expectancy. But if they were to happen to live longer than that, they could grow longer, if that makes sense. I love corn snake. They're just absolutely gorgeous. It's a natural color. This bright red actually blends in pretty well with the natural pattern of the environment to like dead leaves in the ground, but their belly is that stark black and white kind of checkerboard pattern or corn pattern, as their name says, corn snake. And that is to help them defend themselves. So that is a flash of coloration which they can show their enemies if they happen to see a predator or be spooked by something. They can be slithering along and then all of a sudden they get spooked by like a potential predator. Say it's just a cat. Maybe it's a feral cat hanging out and they are spooked by the feral cat and they raise their belly like this. They kind of do like an S pattern and they go, whoa, get out of my way. And usually a predator will see that change of color as something weird. It will at least get their attention like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Witchcraft, you know, like, whoa, I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to take a look and maybe step back for a second. And then the corn snake can just get away. They're very fast when they want to be. They can slither away quite quickly. And that's going to help them to spook their enemies and get away. That's what that coloration is actually for. They don't really have any other defenses. Their bite is very benign. Their teeth are very tiny. They do have teeth, but their teeth are more like sticky Velcro than like anything exciting. Their teeth are purely designed to grab on and hold, and then they eat their prey, right? They don't have any fangs or anything like that because they're non-venomous. But my point is that is really their only way of staying safe is by spooking their enemies or just hiding in the first place or getting away quickly when they can. Yeah, so just because you're a predator like a snake doesn't mean you don't have predators. Most animals do have predators. There's very few animals in the natural environment that have 0 predators, although they do exist. Now, unfortunately, one of the main predators or main threats to the species and all species throughout the planet is going to be humans, right? Snakes are extremely misunderstood. And for some reason just very, very persecuted. They're mostly not dangerous to humans. In fact, no snake wants to harm us whatsoever. They want nothing to do with us. They want to be left alone to do their job, which is helping us by lessening the rodent populations and other animal populations in the natural environment. They're helping us have less diseases and less parasites and everything else, and helping your pets and everything else, believe it or not. So the best thing to do is just leave them alone. They definitely, it's very sad to me because they are one of my favorite animals. In fact, snakes in general are my favorite animals, that a lot of people do harm them because they're afraid of them. And that's something that we're aiming to change here at Once in a While. That's one of our main purposes, not just to have fun with you guys and show you some cool animals. That's always part of that bonus as well, is what we do. But we want to make sure and educate everyone and have you guys tell all your friends and family to please leave wildlife alone. Wildlife, in fact, was there before us, and they should be left alone to live another day, because they're beautiful and deserve to be left alone. They have a purpose. They have no intent to harm you. There's no malice or evil when it comes to being a snake. They're just other animals that deserve to live too. So a lot of people don't like them, and so they feel like they can take matters into their own hands, and that's really not okay. If you ever have a snake problem, you do want to call a professional to handle that snake problem, if you will. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a harmless snake anyway, so you should not harm them ever. But sometimes that one time out of 10, 1 time out of 10, I guess, it might be a venomous snake, and then you're putting yourself in harm's way by trying to or attempting to harm that snake. That is the main reason why people get bitten, is by trying to kill snakes. Did you know that? So animals like rattlesnakes and water moccasins and even cobras and all kinds of snakes all over the planet, those guys want to defend themselves because they are scared. So they're going to be the most dangerous when they're terrified of you, and that you know, when we're actually physically trying to harm them, that's when they're going to defend themselves. And they are going to try to bite you, and you might be harmed in the process. So my point is, you're putting yourself in more harm's way than by calling a professional to handle it, or just honestly stepping back and leaving it alone. If it's in your house, obviously you need some help. And I've done that myself. I've actually helped people with some venomous snakes and non-venomous snakes all over the place where I live in Texas, and I used to live in Florida and all kinds of places. I've helped all kinds of people with their snakes. Thank you for saying she's beautiful, Sarah. That was very, very sweet. Yes, Harley Quinn is gorgeous. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions about our snake or axolotl or any other animal, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. I might put Harley Quinn away and give what's your name? Gremlin some more worms. I have so many animals, it's hard to remember all their names sometimes. So we are a mobile zoo right here in San Antonio, Texas. If you guys want us to come to your classroom or birthday party or any kind of event, we are booking events in person once again. Hooray! So we'd love to see you guys in person for your own animal encounter here in the San Antonio, Texas area. So please let me know if you would like one of those animal encounters of your own. If you'd like to catch us back on this live stream, we are here every single Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Time as well. I'll make sure she's in the shot there. She moves around a lot. We also have a special show coming up this Friday with a collaboration with Doodlebugs Animal Adventures featuring Rachel, the owner of Doodlebugs. We're going to be together on a virtual live stream here at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on Friday coming up. That'll be a lot of fun to see here on YouTube and on Facebook. We'd love to see you guys for that. Let's watch one more video before I forget. I forgot to show you this video, you guys. This is Harley Quinn actually eating a mouse. This is pretty fun. This is a time-lapse video of her eating one time that I went ahead and videotaped for you guys. Check it out. These guys have amazing abilities to eat animals that are about 2 to 3 times the size of their head in this species. Pretty awesome. Yeah, pretty cool. These guys have the ability to kind of expand their jaw so they can fit an animal down and eat it. Now they don't have an unhinging of the jaw. It's actually kind of a space right here that opens up. That is the major function of their specialized jaw. It doesn't unhinge here, although it is very stretchy on either side, and then it kind of opens up nice and wide. Snakes are amazing animals. They have a great sense of smell, which they use via their tongue. Their tongue is forked, and they're always sticking their tongue in and out, so they can smell the environment. That's how they sense the world around them. Pretty awesome. Well, you guys, you've been fantastic. It's about 8 p.m. here, so I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. I do want to also share with you guys. Let's see here. I do want to talk about the Zoom room animal encounters because I don't believe I covered that, because what happened earlier is I wasn't actually broadcasting on Facebook yet, so I started over. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that commercial really fast as well. Bear with me, and thank you for your patience as always. But I do want to always share this with you guys because it's very important to talk about if you guys are interested in a Zoom animal encounter. House with nothing to do? Did your students miss their fun field trip that was fun? Are you looking for a fun team building activity for your employees that are stuck in the house with the same old Zoom meetings from day in and day out? Was your child's birthday party canceled this year because you're stuck in quarantine? Well, then we got the solution for you. Our Zoom Room Animal Encounters are a great solution for you. In Zoom Room Virtual Animal Encounters, we can bring the zoo to you, but from the safety of your own home. They are fully customizable, and you can invite all your friends to join in and meet all the animals. They are fun, unique, and very interactive. It's also a great learning opportunity. And most of all, it's very, very simple. Just contact us to book your appointment and schedule your Zoom room. Then select the animals you would like to attend in your Zoom room animal encounter, and then send the link to all of your friends and family who are invited to the Zoom room that we provide to your email. And best of all, we can bring the animals to anyone, anywhere, all over the world. So visit us at onceinawild.com or call us today. We can't wait to see you. Okay, I'm glad I remembered to show that because I told you I was going to do that. Okay, you guys have been fantastic. I'm going to give Gremlin all of the worms for being such a good boy. See if he gets any of them. Woo! Oh, yes. He's a smart boy tonight. Okay. Now, also, Harley Quinn did actually shed not too long ago, which is pretty awesome. I wanted to show you guys her perfect shed. She actually shed last night, so I knew she'd be ready for the show today. Sometimes I select the animals way ahead of time, and sometimes they select to be on the show. So she had been in shed for a while, so we don't normally handle our snakes on the show, especially if they're in shed, because they can't see very well and they feel a little bit intimidated by that. But she did shed out, so I figured I would go ahead and bring her on the show. It was a sign. But isn't that amazing? So snakes, just like the molting of the arthropods in general, but the scorpion has to molt as well to grow. The snakes actually have to shed their skin as well. So isn't that amazing? You can actually see where her head is and everything. This is a perfect little shed. Corn snakes are usually pretty good about that. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the show today. Let me know if you enjoyed it in a comment down below. That would help us out a lot. Also, subscribing to us on YouTube actually really helps us out, as well as liking and ringing the bell on the videos and getting notifications and sharing the videos with your friends and family that love animals. That all helps us out quite a bit. And we'll see you guys next week, as well as this Friday here at Once in a Wild. Bye-bye.
We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. And that's the fun for me and you.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.